What's up, guys? It's the Yungavelle here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be talking about a topic that's very close to my heart. It's very close to my core. It's actually very close to all of our cores. We're going to be talking about why unconditional service works. In terms of how it benefits you, why it benefits you. And this topic is powerful, and it moves me because we're talking directly about our relationship with the bigger picture. And once we can determine and decipher a sort of understanding of our position within the bigger picture, it gives us an opportunity to deepen our connection. So, first thing that's very important to understand is that it is bigger than us. There is a bigger overall energy, source, picture, universe, God, Krishna. You have to understand that that is real. Let me say that again. You need to understand that that is real. And I'm not religious. I'm telling you right now, I'm not religious. But I can see that it's bigger than me. And there's something moving. There's an energy moving. So, the amazing part about this energy, about God, about Krishna, is that it's so expansive and yet so personal. So expansive and yet so personal. A loving source that we cannot even begin to comprehend, but that we are a part of. We are a part of. Qualitatively one, meaning we are one in quality. The same quality as a gold chain is, and a gold ring. Both are gold. A gold mountain and a gold chain, even though the mountain is chock full of a larger quantity of gold, the gold chain is still the same quality. It's the same thing with us, the living entities. And we need to understand that. Once you understand that, you can get a better idea of what you are. Not only who you are, but what you are. So, it's funny because when we talk about like God and all that, everyone wants to get all up in arms like, hey, religion, get away from me, but this great Hindu sage, spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who was on the planet maybe like 30 years ago, it passed away. Srila Prabhupada brought to the States the ancient knowledge dealing with the supreme, the living entity, material nature, time, and karma. And these teachings coming from ancient India from thousands of years ago were so on point. And one of the things that he said, which was pretty spot on, was that, God is God. You don't say, the same way as, again, going back to a gold analogy, gold is gold. You don't say Christian gold, you don't say Hindu gold, you don't say Muslim gold. No, gold is gold. And the stuff that comes after is human, human categorization of the mind. So, I always have to give a preface when we're talking about the bigger picture, because people come from all over the world and all different backgrounds. So now let's get right into it. Why service works. So the reason unconditional service works is because we are part and parcel of God, of Krishna, of the universe, whatever you want to call it. And when you make yourself available, you become a channel. Not only that, the real reason is because our relationship with God or the bigger picture, is one of loving reciprocity. I'll say that again. Our natural relationship as a soul to the Supreme is one of loving reciprocity. Reciprocity is a give and take. Give and take. It's a relationship, back and forth, back and forth. So you don't think it's just all that, where you just are constantly doing stuff and there will not be anything in return. And the same goes in the reverse, but is way more crazy on that side, because the Supreme is way beyond. The reciprocity that the Supreme gives back is way beyond our understanding, and can be way beyond our understanding at times. So loving reciprocity is our relationship to the Supreme. So when we put ourselves in a space of loving devotional service and act from that space, we are now saying to the material world, you're done. I'm understanding that my relationship with the bigger picture is my natural state. And once you get into your natural state, you have woken up. You have woken up. You see, the mind is so good at separating things, compartmentalizing things. But that's its function. The ego, that's its function. It has its place in the material world in order to, this is good for this, that is good for that. This is this, that is that. It's good up to a certain level. But when we get into trouble is when we give that more power than it actually needs. And it takes the reins, because the ego is all about, it's tied to the material world. There is no ego on the higher realms. It's just you, the real you, spirit you, not the ego. So the ego is functioning. The ego is functioning on, how can I gratify the body? Like, how can I gratify the senses of the body? What do I need to do in order to gratify the senses, make the senses feel pleasurable, like feel enjoyable, relax, survive and stuff like that. So keep in mind, this is not our true nature. So you get into trouble because you're giving an energy that's not your true nature a lot of power, way more power to steer, So, like I said, if you can bring the ego back, if you can dial it back a little bit and understand it has its functions. Like, for example, you see different pieces of wood. That's a piece of wood, that's a piece of wood. Okay. The next tier of understanding would be, okay, I can make something from these pieces. Something can come of these parts. That understanding only comes about when you're able to view the parts in a combined fashion. When you see the parts serve a function, an even better function when they are combined. There's a reason, there's a functionality behind the combination of them that can be of service. If I'm able to see the parts in in a greater perspective, in a more holistic perspective. In the same way, certain things that happen in your life, that you want to compartmentalize, like this is this, that is that, you might derive more benefit from them when you start to realize, okay, this, relative to where you are now, this and that kind of shaped me to be experiencing what I am now and learning what I am now. It goes back into the previous video that I put out on my 120 days on no fat of the obstacle is the way. It's a shift in perception where you kind of take the reins, away from getting lost in the obstacle, getting lost in the parts, the isolated parts, and you're able to see that once you combine them within, you get a greater understanding of their place, you can start to derive some benefit from them, and you can see that they served a purpose and they have a function. So this all goes back to a greater understanding, which is going to eventually lead to your place in the bigger picture. Because, questions that come about after are, all right, why is this happening? what is this all about? You know, how am I why am I developing in the way that I am? So, going back to the premise of the video, the reason loving devotional service works is because you are already in a state of reciprocity with God, but you may not know it because you're acting in what's called a fruitive way. You're acting where you're looking for the results of your activities. So you're not really acting unconditionally. You're behaving conditionally. So you're engaging in what's called fruitive activities. You're looking for the fruits of your labor, the fruits of your actions. So you do something and you're looking for like a direct response. But that's kind of limiting yourself. It's limiting the amount of reciprocity because it's conditional, and that's not really your nature. You're almost there, but that's not really your nature. Once you open yourself up to serving, putting things out there in service in an unconditional fashion, you are tapping into that universal abundance that you are naturally a part of. So the reciprocity that you can get back is unlimitedly more expansive from that space. You have to really think about it. You have to really understand that, soak that in, that when you come from a space of loving unconditional service and you act that way, you have now opened up what you are allowing to come back to you. This is something that people fritter around. You know, people are acting just on the outskirts, you know, myself included. You know, I'm human in this lifetime, so I have my human nature that keeps me, sometimes pulls me back, and we need to remember, you know, conversations like these need to happen. We need to remember our nature, because the material world is strong. I've said it before. Material nature is strong, but we are stronger, because we are not, in reality, we are not bound by this. Remember our quality. You have to remember the quality. You know, the raindrop is same in quality as the ocean. It's just different. Ocean's way more expansive, but they're both water. So when you make yourself available, when you act out of service, you get the love, you get the reciprocity that you are now entering into that natural state, that natural relationship. Because the great thing about the source, about God, is that it's so expansive, yeah, great, but it's so personal. So personal that only you know the conversations that you have with the source, with God, with the universe. You know, only you know the real internal struggle. Only you and the source know the real internal struggles that you're going through and that you want to overcome. You're not alone there. You have to remember. That's why I'm saying remember your position, because when you do, it will deepen your connection. This conversation is very close to my heart, you know. That's why it might have sort of a different sort of quality to it. It's not just about no fap. You know, everyone that's on that journey, realize that we are manifesting the real us. And when you manifest the real you, you're going to deepen your perspective about who and what you are, how strong you are. And these perspectives about where you stand in the bigger picture are going to come right along with it. So remember these conversations. Remember this information. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in this video. If you guys got anything from this video, be sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, a greater perspective